All right, today's video's name is Do You Have Your Priorities Straight? So since the beginning of time, man has had to have basic priorities: food, water, shelter. And those were really all you needed initially. Now we've added some additional categories with energy, barterability, wealth preservation, and there's a few others, but those are some of the key things I want to talk about today. So, food, think of it as like a pyramid. Food has to be the bottom of your pyramid. Water has to be the next level. Shelter is the next level. And I mean, this is like if you had to go out in the woods. Now, a lot of people put shelter at a higher priority. That's fine. So let's start with food. Few people have fresh food. That this is food that you grow. The stuff in the store could be, month-old food. Could be 2 months old. Eggs can be 6 months old. So you start with fresh food if possible, because this is where you create your own food and you're not tied to supply chain. So I've got my rabbits there. I got chickens down here. And I don't have my Cornish rocks that I grew for meat. Those are in the freezer, so I'll show you that. So you start with live protein. All right, so let me show you the vegetables now. And this takes quite a bit of infrastructure. I forgot, I'm not going to go to the vegetables yet, but this is where we have our chickens where they lay their eggs, and we get about 10 eggs a day. That is a lot of protein, by the way. That's a fantastic protein, and you get more eggs if you feed them, but when we get a lot of rain, we get free food out here where it's growing, and the chickens eat that too, and they get all the worms and bugs and everything else. So the other kind of food is, again, fresh. There's a fresh cooking, that's a different connotation. This is actually growing your own food. And we've got a lot of fruit trees here that I'm planting, and we've got bushes of blueberries. The blueberries are on there right now that I can pick off. I got asparagus. I've got some mint and things growing in here, herbs, raspberries, and miniature blueberry plants, okra. These are beans. I just watered them so they're leaning over a little bit. This is some of my early peppers. I've got jalapenos and bell peppers growing in here. And these are some more of the bush beans. I did not use an inoculant on these, and they did not do as well. So I'm kind of a believer in the inoculant. Red potatoes. Strawberries. I got a bunch to pick. See one right there. Yellow onions. These are pretty pungent. I pull off the leaves off of these, and just eat them, and they've gotten strong now. They weren't strong when I first started growing them. More red potatoes. These are more mature. I put them in about a month earlier. And then these are more mature peppers. I've got, again, jalapenos and bell peppers. There's a jalapeno right there. Probably going to start having some that I can harvest. Tomatoes galore. Tomatoes galore. Haven't had any darn ripe yet, but man, I bet you I could do some fried green tomatoes. And I got to get these under control, but this is cherry tomatoes, and some of these are above my head now, so they're 6 feet tall. More onions. These are Egyptian walking-in onions, and they're growing their own seeds right here on the end. This is really cool. These are yellow sweet onions, Texas sweet. I didn't mean yellow, Texas sweet. So these bulbs get humongous, and they just started bulbing, so I'm happy about that. Cucumbers. We've already pulled 3 or 4 cucumbers off. In fact, that one looks like it's ready already. Got a bunch of small ones on here. I saw some on the back. For some reason, the back ones. Oh yeah, there's a good one right there. There's 2 more. It's funny, it starts out you'll get 1 cucumber one day, you'll get like 2 the next, and then all of a sudden now we're going to get 4, and then we're going to get 8, and that's the way it works. Now my green beans, these are the pole beans. They're over the top. And I just noticed today This is really exciting. I kept wondering, where's my dang green beans? What's that right there? It's hard to see out here in the sun. I got flowers. That means that's going to be green beans. I'm so happy. Now my turnips, they started flowering, so I got to get these out of here and we got to eat them because they're going to get all bitter. And you can tell I'm not out here in the garden every day because I still have not thinned out my carrots. I watered everything so it's kind of bent over, but these carrots got to be thinned. It might be too late, and I'll just get some twisted up carrots, but I don't care. I'm just cutting them up and putting them in stews. It's not like for the store where everybody thinks everything's got to be perfectly pretty. So this is the fresh food. Oh, garlic. This is elephant garlic that I planted after I pulled my other garlic out. So let me show you the garlic hanging up. So my garlic's been hanging here a couple weeks, might be 3 weeks already, and you can see they're just about all the way dried up. There's just the very tip of the stalks have yet to dry. But I'm going to be cooking with this. I'm going to try to make my recipes this year as fresh as possible. I don't know that I'm going to need anything. I think I've grown everything that I'm going to need, as long as we don't end up with some problem where unexpected. All right, so now let me show you the next level of food. Okay, the next level of food is from fresh to freezer. And I think there's 32 chickens in here right now, about 6 to 7 pounds a piece. So that's about 200 pounds of meat that was grown by me. And so I know how they were raised. I know what they were fed. That is a lot of meat. And that was all since December. I had about 14 chickens left over from December, and I just did 20 chickens just a couple weeks ago. So these are fresh. By the way, food lasts indefinitely in a deep freeze too, as long as you keep power to it. Now this, I had to buy this because I've got 50 rabbits I got to process over the next several weeks. And then I got like another 24 coming up right behind that. And so each bag has 2 rabbits. So that means I'm going to have 25 more bags. So that's 28 bags total, plus, you know, whatever I don't eat. This is going to be filled up until I start going to the next level of storage. So that is 6 pounds per bag. So let's say if we just had 28 bags, it's 180 pounds roughly of meat right here. Plus we're going to have another 30 chickens after, or rabbits after that. So this is my next level of freshness. Okay, the next level of freshness is canned foods. These are fresh canned stews. And I've got some that are just vegetables only too. Like I got some okra canned up. Those okra plants put out so much dang okra, we could not consume it fast enough, so I just canned it. And sometimes I don't have all the ingredients, and I'll just can meat too. So I have just meat only canned. But the majority of this are ready to eat meals. MREs, meals ready to eat. And they're all fully cooked, so you don't even have to warm it up. And you can stretch it out over rice. You can do a lot of things. So this is level 3. Now let me show you level 4, and then I'm going to come back to 5. So I should also say level 3 combined the fresh protein and fresh vegetables. So this is level 4. We got lots of canned goods, and then I have canned goods in my other pantry over here that I haven't unpacked, but this is what we use regularly, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's probably several months of food just here alone. But this also allows me to build or make more stews when my garden isn't yet producing. So I have all the ingredients that you need, just canned stuff that's not as fresh. So this is part of that same stock of canned goods, but I just have to I got to get 3 more green beans and 1 more corn to keep that fully stocked, and we got plenty of chili there. And then these are all my jars, ball jars, and I got a few more in the other room that when I'm going to start cooking here in the next several weeks, I'll be filling up my canned goods downstairs. All right, so the 5th level is the freeze-dried and some additional canned. And I got rice, I got beans, I got all sorts of stuff, and I'm getting ready to set up to do some long-term storage of some of the things are not freeze dried. But I got lots of the dried foods, and I've got drinks, and I've got syrups, and I've got grits and pancake mixes and egg mixes, whole eggs, seasonings, jellies and peanut butter and stuff you need for baking. And I've got, like some more seasonings up at the top for making yellow rice and some of the stews. I've got sterno, I've got paper plates, wipes, toilet paper. Got to get some more paper towels and toilet paper, plus napkins. So lots of cooking stuff. So you probably say, okay, you got the food, where's your water? All right, let's show that. So I got a walkout basement, and I'm 200 feet above any water, and I'm 1,200 feet above sea level, and I'm hundreds of miles away from coastline for tornadoes and hurricanes, and well, we get some tornadoes up here. No real earthquakes or anything, so it's a pretty safe location. But I got 2,500 gallons of potable water. And all I do is every couple years I just change this out and I use it for watering my garden, and I fill it back up with stuff from the tap. Now I got another 2,500 gallons upstairs that I catch right off of the gutter. And then there's another, say, 600 gallons that I catch off a gutter in IBC totes. Plus I have another 600 gallons that I use a transfer pump to get up to my front garden. So I got lots of water, and that'll cover my animals. This will cover us for cooking and everything. We're just probably going to be smelly because you're not going to be using this for bathing, except for maybe if the world ends, you're going to use a washcloth or something. I do have plans to get me a well pump, and that's on my list for hopefully this year. So that's my water. Let me continue with the water. So this is about 500 gallons that I have coming off of a gutter system. And it's filtered so it catches leaves and stuff up there. There's a screen trap right there. And there's this covering you got to put over these to keep them from all mildewing up. These have to be rinsed out and get ready for the rains when we get here in probably June. I got another 500 gallons IBC totes, but I have to use a transfer pump to fill these up. And I use that for my garden. And I've got a little DC 12 volt pump that I hook a battery on. It allows me to water. Here's another 2,500 gallon tank that I spoke of that is hooked up to a big old gutter. This runs this whole side over my garage. This can be used for my garden that I pump up there. It can also use for this big garden that I'm about ready to build down here. It's about 50 by 120 feet. And this ought to be plenty. Now, shelter. Everyone's got to figure out what they need for a shelter. I developed requirements for my shelter. I wanted a walkout basement because I wanted a temperature controlled storage downstairs. I didn't want a regular basement like up in Indiana where you can get flooded out. This doesn't have any chance for flooding. I'm 200 feet above any water table down here. There's a lake, and I'm 1,200 feet above sea level, like I said. So this is I built my gardens on a hill up here, and this house is fairly sizable for a couple people. But how many people are you planning on saving? I got a lot of family, and I expect my family will come up here, and we will be able to help them out like Joseph helped his family in the Bible. So after you have your shelter, and by the way, I have some characteristics about this shelter too. So I put an on-demand gas water heater, so I've got my own propane tank down there that supplies that water heater. I've got it on timer, so it really doesn't use that much gas, like 50 bucks a month. And I'm going to add another electric water heater, and I'll show you why, because I've got solar. And then I've got wood stoves in here. That was another requirement that I had. So I've got one downstairs, one upstairs, and I've got this is moving into energy, but we're going to skip that right now. Then I've got outside cooking area, because in the summer, if we're without power, you're going to cook outside. So I set up all my cooking out here. So let's move to energy. If you don't have any power, you need wood stoves, and so you got to have wood. That's energy. It's your energy. You can have propane or something like that, but you got to figure out if there's not any utilities, I mean, even people that had natural gas, they got cut off because they had more demand than there was supply. So you got to have redundancies. I mean, I have where I can cook on charcoal, and I probably got 40 bags of charcoal. I also have, you know, wood that I can turn into coals to cook with, and I got a smoker that I can cook with just wood. So all those things are part of your shelter. So energy. Got to walk over here. I got 11.5 kilowatt solar system, photovoltaic solar. And a lot of times I say it's only 10.5 kilowatt because that's actually all it produces at peak energy, and that's because there's losses in your inverters and in the wiring and all this kind of stuff. So you got to keep that in mind when you put it in. But I got, what was it? I think it's 36 panels. They're 320 watt mono perk, and I have Sunny Boy inverters. So even if the power goes out, I have 2 inverters, 6 kilowatt, that'll put out 2 kilowatt each for running like refrigerators, freezers, things like that. But you got to have a backup to that, because at night solar doesn't work. It doesn't work in the rain, it doesn't work with clouds, fog, all that kind of stuff. So you need to have a generator, because if you're going to be without power from utilities or solar for any length of time, in the winter time there's not that much energy because the sun is so low. So I've got it's a 14 kilowatt generator that I ended up converting to propane. I buried a 200-gallon propane tank in the ground, and this thing is now about a 12 kilowatt, which is just a tremendous amount of power. And it's a bifuel, so I can run on gasoline as well. So let's say the propane tank runs out after 30 days. Probably can get more out of 30 days on 200 gallons, because again, I'll only be running it at night for a few hours. And then I can take gas from my boat. I got like 50 gallons there. I got trucks that if we're not going anywhere, I got like another 40 gallons there. I can run another several months. So the only thing I need with my solar is a battery system. And Gain Solar, if you're watching this, where's my batteries? He's the guy that installed all this. Great job. Hopefully get him over here and get some batteries installed soon. All right, so we had food, water, shelter. So the next thing is barter. So if you're able to keep your like animal production up and egg production up, let's say you're able to get your grains and things, I'm telling you, rabbit and eggs and chickens, it's going to be a fantastic barter. Even your vegetables. By the way, it takes a lot of space to grow a lot of vegetables for yourself and other people. But that's why I'm going to continue to expand. To me, barter, it's better to have something that people can use immediately and not have to do anything else with, because some people think their gold and silver is going to be what they're going to use for barter, but they, you know, you can go to the store and you know, get some things you need, but some things are going to become unobtainable. So I look at barter as having some excess that you will be able to use to trade for other things. I mean, I've heard of people where they could kill chickens, but they couldn't kill rabbits because they were too cute. So one family grew rabbits, and they would trade with somebody that had chickens, and so that way they both had variety. I'm trying to do both, so I have both, because I'm telling you, chickens are the easiest things to grow. Rabbits are a little more work, and they cost about 3 times as much, but it's variety, and it's really not difficult. It's just the processing is a little more work than what most people are used to. Anyways, priorities. Food first, shelter next. You want to have energy. You want to have barterability. And then there's wealth protection. That's another whole subject, and that's where actually I count the gold. You stick your gold, you're going to have that down the road when things start coming back together. But you know, use silver for like everyday transactions. If you need to get some feed, you need to get some gas, that kind of thing. But barter is going to be something that, you know, somebody needs some rice, somebody needs some, you know, whatever, some of your canned goods that you've done, keep them going. You can trade for something else that you might need, dog food or something. Anyways, I hope this has been helpful for you. You got to think about multiple levels of redundancy. That's what's going to keep you alive. I got a feeling, if we go through grand solar minimum, you end up, everybody's huddled together, a lot of sickness, a lot of death, and you start losing 20% of the population, you're going to end up losing the capability of maintaining our complex society. So you're not going to have your electricity, you're not going to have water sanitation, you're not going to have, people picking up the garbage and disposing of it. You're going to end up with, the rodents that pass on the fleas and bubonic plague. You're not going to have the medical support. It goes on and on and on. It's a horrible thing to think about. So I'm planning the lowest level of survivability is down back to the 1800s, where you just don't rely on anything. I'll keep this electronic stuff working as long as I can, but once that's gone, we're just going to be 1800s, cooking outside and just trying to survive with the water we catch and purify and that kind of stuff. All right. I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.